Should you sell your home for sale by owner? We're going to talk about the pros and cons of going FSBO today. So for some people, FSBO can work, but there's really some pitfalls that we need to discuss to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you stick to the end, and we'll decide whether for sale by owner is for you or not. The number one reason that most people want to go for sale by owner is to save the commission. So 3% on the selling side, and then sometimes they want to save that 3% on the buyer side too. That makes it really difficult, especially if you're trying to save commission on both sides. 90% of people, if not higher than that, work with a real estate agent. So if you want a buyer, you're probably going to have to pay that buyer agent commission, 3% for bringing you the buyer. Now, the seller agent also wants to have 3%. Ideally, it is negotiable. Both sides is negotiable. But ideally, 3% to sell your house, because in selling your house, they do listing photos, they do consultation, they put up signs, they do open houses, they market it for you, they put it on the MLS system, it pushes it out to everybody for them to see. So you want to save that commission, right? You may not save that commission. You may still end up paying that commission even if you're not really paying the commission. So some other reasons that you might go FSBO are to control the entire process from start to finish. And maybe you've done it before, maybe you've had very good success with it, and you can definitely do it. You can try it for sure. I wouldn't recommend it. Being on this side of things, for sale by owner, there's a lot of negatives that happen with it, and we'll talk about those. The potential commission savings, yeah, we talked about that. You might get more, but you might not, because now the buyer agent knows that you're not having to pay a commission on the selling side, and the buyer also knows that too. So what are they going to try to do? They're going to try to negotiate down even further because you're saving money. You're not working with a real estate agent. So I can try to knock 3% off the price because you're not having to pay it. So there's that mentality that can go on the buyer side. Now, maybe not. Maybe they won't do that. But there isn't that negotiation in there. You'll control the entire process. You'll control the pricing, the showings, negotiations timeline. You are the man. You're going to get all the phone calls fielded in from buyer agents. You're also going to get phone calls from real estate agents as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. There's no middleman. There's no middle person. You are the person. Faster conversations from possibly buyer to seller. Sometimes you can get to where it's just a buyer and seller, but usually that only happens when you know the person, and let's say your properties are adjacent to each other and you have a piece of land that person has stated they have interest in. Hey, I'll sell you this piece of land, for you for $5,000. Okay, done. Transaction closed. No agent needed for that. That's fairly rare. So those are the pros. Those are the pros of the for sale by owner. You might save that commission, not guaranteed. You're direct to either buyer or buyer agent communication. There is no middle person. You can control the process, and that's kind of where things end. I don't think there's any other pros. I think that's it. Let me know in the comments if there are other pros, because there probably are. But for this purpose, we'll go to the cons, which are pretty hefty in my opinion. So now, maybe you don't know where to price it. Maybe you didn't pull a comparative market analysis. Maybe you're not looking at what the market is saying your property is worth. Maybe you don't have an agent there to guide you in that pricing process. Maybe you priced it at $326,000, and now you're missing everybody that's searching for $325,000 and below. You just eliminated a massive pool of buyers because your $1,000 priced too high. So pricing matters. The mental thing of things ending in 999 doesn't necessarily apply to real estate. It does apply to retail in general. $5.99 sounds better than $6, but that's a completely different world than real estate. So pricing challenges are a big deal. Overpricing, underpricing, you're leaving money on the table. I talked to a FSBO yesterday, and they said, well, we priced it under market because we want it to sell fast. Okay, good. I hope it does. It might, but you might be leaving money on the table. Who knows? We need to do an analysis and make sure that you're priced properly. And if you really want it to sell fast, you should probably list it with an agent because they're going to give you the most exposure that you're ever going to see. If you just post it on Zillow, the buyer market is this big compared to this big. I mean, it's a big difference. So that's the next con, marketing exposure. You're going for sale by owner. You have a limited number of things that you could do. You can post it on Zillow, Realtor.com. You can manually post it on all of the platforms that the MLS feeds automatically, but you have to do it individually if you do it for sale by owner. But you're really, really limiting yourself. Maybe you didn't hire that professional photographer. Maybe you just took some iPhone photos. You're not dealing with all of the agents that are on the MLS because the MLS has thousands of real estate agents on it and can see things that flow through it. And that's why it's there. It's for marketing purposes. It's this data exchange that a lot of people participate in, but you're not participating in it. You're eliminating yourself from 99% of buyers because you're going for sale by owner. Now you'll show up on most searches on those platforms, but like if you're on Zillow but you're not on Realtor.com, you're not going to show up on Realtor.com as a for sale by owner. You're just going to show up on Zillow.com as a for sale by owner. Whereas if you were on an MLS system, you're going to show up on hundreds of websites as listed on the MLS and not FSBO. Marketing exposure, exponential. If you list with an agent, your property is going to get out to exponentially more people than going FSBO. So instead of marketing like this on the MLS and with an agent, your marketing is expanded, I can't say it enough, exponentially, times 10 to the nth power. That's one of the biggest things. Now you can pay a flat fee and have an agent listed on the MLS for a few $100s, and now it's on the MLS, which helps things big time, but you're still the middle person dealing with all the phone calls from buyers and real estate agents. So that's kind of an in-between that you could take part in if you wanted to. Again, not ideal, not what I would recommend, but it's, in my opinion, it's better than going for sale by owner. Another big con would be time, stress, and safety. It's going to take time to field all those phone calls that you're going to get. And let's talk about the phone calls. Real estate agents are going to call you nonstop. You have just put your phone number on one of the most visited websites for home searches, let's say Zillow, and now you are a lead. You are a lead for a real estate agent to call to try to convert you to a listing. I do it. Every real estate agent does, for the most part. It's low-hanging fruit. It's a person raising their hand saying, "I'd like to sell my house. I'm putting it on here. Please bring me a buyer. I'd love to make some money off this property." So you're going to get phone call after phone call after phone call of not qualified buyers. You're going to get phone calls from real estate agents. I'm a qualified buyer, but I'm not a qualified buyer for your property. I'm a qualified, licensed real estate agent that would like you to list with me so that I can earn a commission off your property, so that I can help you sell your house by listing it on the MLS, by using my marketing plan, by getting it out there to the entire agent network, by doing open houses, by doing professional photos, possibly staging it. So probably the biggest thing, in my opinion, biggest reason to not go FSBO, to not go for sale by owner, is the fact that you have just given your phone number out to thousands of real estate agents, asking them to basically call you. Now, I know you don't want them to call, and you don't want to list with an agent because you want to go for sale by owner. But they're going to call you. They're going to call you and 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 follow up and follow up. And they're going to follow up and follow up and follow up until you most likely list with an agent. 90%, 80 to 90% list with an agent. 80 to 90% of for sale by owners will list with a real estate agent. It'll take them whatever amount of time. It'll take them some days, 10 days, a month, a few months. But almost inevitably, they will list with an agent. Even in my experience, from calling FSBOs and following up with FSBOs, at some point, they list. I had one for sale by owner that I followed up with for weeks, and his property went, so didn't sell. I think we're probably like 35 days into his property being on for sale by owner. I've talked to him, had good conversations, saw the house, followed up with him a few times. I look, his property's off the market, so I sent him a message. Hey, did it sell? Blah, blah, blah. He did not reply to me, but then about 4 days later, his property, what did it do? It hit the MLS. He listed with an agent, and he didn't list with me, and then he didn't list with the other agent that he said he spoke to. He listed with another agent that me and him had not had a conversation about. So somebody hit him at the right time, hit him with the right words, had the right rapport with him to list on the MLS. And wouldn't you know it, a few days after he hit the MLS, I think it was 6 days, his property went pending. He got an offer. And I've seen that time and time again. I've seen it multiple times. These properties will go for sale by owner for days and weeks and months, and then they list with an agent who prices it properly, markets it properly, and it sells like it should. It sells quickly because it's priced well, and it's ready to go, ready to move into. And what does the seller get? They get equity. They get money for their house. They get to go do something with that money. They get to not waste time on answering phone calls from real estate agents again and again and again. They don't have to tour the house with real estate agents. If I was that for sale by owner person, wouldn't I have rather saved the 35 days of agent calls, they have to be incessant, the tours that occurred from real estate agents, and a few qualified buyers maybe, but mostly real estate agents? You could have saved all of that time, all of that effort, and just listed with an agent, paid her a reasonable 3%, paid them a reasonable 3% commission, and sold your house in 6 days. Done. To me, that makes way more sense than going for sell by owner. So that's a huge con for me. Phone call, real estate agent. Don't do FSBO. Don't do it. You're gonna get calls. It's annoying. I don't like to be annoying. I'm trying to make a living. I'm trying to help you sell your house. You've raised your hand. You've said, I'd like to sell my house. So I'm going to call you. Hopefully we have a good conversation, and hopefully we get your house sold as quick as possible. So now that's a big tangent for me. Let's get back to stress and safety. Safety is pretty big. As a real estate agent, I have to go into confined spaces with people I don't know fairly often. And when I'm doing for sale by owners, they don't know me, I don't know them. They allow me to tour their house, thankfully. So I go in and I tour their house. But often these for sale by owners are elderly women. It's just not safe. Okay, if I'm a for sale by owner and I'm looking at a prospective buyer, they're going to want to tour the house. They're going to want to see it. Real estate agents too. They're going to want to come in. They're going to want to take a look in this small house, and it's just not very safe. If I had a 60-year-old elderly woman, 70, whatever, or even elderly man or elderly person, it is not real safe to have a stranger come in and spend time with them in their house. They don't necessarily have the vetting processes that maybe real estate agents do. And so there's just a layer of danger that is scary. I did a FSBO. I went to a FSBO's house, and it was an elderly, a slightly older woman, but she didn't know me, and it blew my mind that to try to skirt commission, I'm willing to sacrifice my safety. In an ideal world, nobody should do that. Nobody should have to sacrifice their safety to save 3% on a house sale. Please don't do it. Please. It's a lot of scariness that I would not want to partake in or experience. And it scares me when I see people partaking in that danger. So huge reason to not do for sale by owners. If you're an at-risk person that's letting a stranger into your home, and it doesn't matter whether you're large, small, strong, weak, older, younger, people can be crazy. People can do crazy things, bad things. Please don't put yourself in the position to become a victim in those type of situations. You can avoid that by hiring a real estate agent to be a proxy. Involve a real estate agent. It makes things a lot cleaner. We have systems in place that allow people in. You don't have to be there. You leave the house, and then the prospective buyer and their agent come in to the house using secure access. They get in, they look at the house, they leave, they're gone. You get notified, you come back, done. You did not need to see the buyer. It's usually best that you don't anyways. And so that process is there for a lot of reasons, and it works really well. Going for sale by owner, you totally don't take advantage of any of those processes, which can be very beneficial. So who should go for sale by owner? Well, if you've done it again and again and again, and you don't mind doing it, yeah, that's fine. I don't think I'm going to convert you anyways. I understand. If you're an investor who is dealing with inexpensive properties anyways, $100,000 or below, and they tend to need a lot of work, then yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a different buyer pool than most agents are anyways, So off-market private deals, obviously the land that's right next to another person's land, that thing can work. And then if you have been doing it for a very long time and you have this massive network that you don't need an agent and you don't need the MLS, by all means. But if you're like most single homeowners, or homeowners that have a single home, you probably want to list with an agent. You don't want the phone calls. You don't want the security risk. You want to take advantage of a professional that knows the documentation, that has done the process, that can walk you through it step by step, that can set you up with all the people that you need to be set up with, and make the process seamless, easy. You pay a reasonable wage to the agent for listing your house for them, or for you. And the transaction goes, hopefully, as quick as possible. Done. Good buyer. we got the transaction taken care of. You get your equity out of the house, and the buyer gets your house, and everybody's happy, and we go on with our lives. We do hopefully some fun stuff. My recommendation as a real estate agent is to please don't do for sale by owner for all the reasons that I've stated previously. You can definitely try it. Almost inevitably, you're going to get phone calls from realtors. You're going to deal with not very many qualified buyers. You're limiting your marketing capability exponentially. You're only appealing to this much of the market. So the cons, to me, heavily outweigh the pros. The pros are you might save a commission, but you might not. You might end up reducing the price. They might negotiate you down. Maybe you didn't price it correctly. Maybe you priced it too low. You're leaving 30 grand on the table. That 30 grand could have paid the realtor, and you could have pocketed 20 grand on top of that. So it's always about the commission, but almost inevitably the commission doesn't factor into it because you took less than you would have gotten if you had paid a realtor to list it. So my argument for going FSBO is please don't do it. Call me. I'm happy to work with you. If you like my personality, we'd probably get along well. And let's do it together. Let's walk through the process. Let's get your house sold in the shortest amount of time possible and make you happy, make me happy, make that buyer happy. And let's maximize your net. That's the whole goal. Maximize what you actually put in your pocket. The commission shouldn't really even come to mind. It's all about what are you going to net after possible closing costs, after agent fees. Your net is the most important part of the puzzle. It's what you care about the most. I care about it because it affects whether you're going to list with me or not. And the market tells you what you're going to get. So let's go through this process. Let's maximize that net outcome by pricing it properly, marketing it properly, and getting your house sold. So after you watch that, and if you're still considering going for sale by owner, I didn't do a good enough job convincing you, but it's fine. It's your choice. Do what you'd like to do, and let me know. Let me know what I left out, what I didn't explain well. Help me to work on my for sale by owner convincing argument. But yeah, do it, try it. It might go great. It might be absolutely amazing. It might be the best thing you've ever done. But if you don't want to go for sale by owner, please talk to me. Please reach out to me, message me, call me. Help me help you. Help me help you sell your house. We'll get it marketed well. We'll position it properly, and hopefully we'll get it sold in this much time instead of this much time. Thanks for watching, and hope to talk to you soon.